What's going on, guys? Dare here with Fantasy Football Advice, coming at you with another fantasy football video. Today, we got a good one for you guys. We are going over the top bounce back player at each position. I see this video definitely being on the shorter side because making a case for each of the players I selected in this video is going to be pretty easy, and I think we should all be mostly in consensus. Before we do jump into the video, just a quick reminder that all packages on our website are currently 15% off, but this is a limited time offer that is only going to be available now until the end of April. With that being said though, let's hop over to our stat of the day. Yesterday's stat of the day was last season, 7 wide receivers threw a touchdown pass: Cole Beasley, Jarvis Landry, Russell Gage, Jamison Crowder, Isaiah McKenzie, Cedric Wilson, and who was the 7th player? The correct answer was actually Jacoby Myers. Congratulations to John Jacobs, who got this question right on YouTube, and on Twitter, Jacob407-40319. Congratulations to both of you. As for today's stat of the day, in 2020, Philip Rivers and one other quarterback led the league in average yards after catch per completion. Which quarterback other than Philip Rivers was that? Leave your answer in the comment section down below. We'll be happy to let you know who wins in tomorrow's video. With all of that out of the way, we'll hop right into our first player. And remember guys, this is going to be one bounce back player at each position: wide receiver, running back, quarterback, and tight end. We're going to be starting with the running back position, and it should come as not too much of a surprise. We have Austin Ekeler of the LA Chargers. Making a case for Austin Ekeler to bounce back in this upcoming season is relatively easy. Looking back at his 2020 production, the only thing that really held him back from having an extremely successful season was the fact that he was dealing with injuries. Unfortunately for Ekeler, he was only able to appear in just 10 of 16 games. One of those games he only played on 6% of snaps, 2 rush attempts, so realistically we only saw him in for about 9 games. In those 9 games, the results were pretty consistent, receiving 10 plus touches on the ground in 7 of 9 contests, averaging over 4 yards per carry in 7 of 9 as well. But one of the biggest questions that we did have heading into the 2020 season was, what were we going to be able to expect from a receiving standpoint? While yes, we do know the strength of Austin Ekeler in any backfield is going to come from his receiving upside, but one major concern that many people had heading into the 2020 season was, without Philip Rivers, were we going to see the same receiving floor? Philip Rivers, of course, throughout his entire career had heavily utilized targeting the running back position out of the backfield. This was dated all the way back to LaDainian Tomlinson. We had a long stretch also throughout his career in which he was heavily targeting players like Danny Woodhead and Ryan Matthews. And in the 2019 season, with Austin Ekeler playing with Philip Rivers, Ekeler received a whopping 108 targets throughout that campaign. And due to that massive target total, it left a lot of people wondering, in an offense without Philip Rivers, were we going to see Austin Ekeler match that same type of production? Ultimately, the exit of Melvin Gordon did negate a lot of the concerns that many people would have in regards to potential risk of losing out on those receptions. Ultimately, in 2020 fantasy drafts, Austin Ekeler found himself as a high-end second-round draft pick. Due to Austin Ekeler suffering injuries, of course, Austin Ekeler didn't pay off the draft spot of a high-end second-round pick, ultimately finishing as the running back 34 in standard, running back 26 in PPR leagues. But the biggest takeaway we should be taking from his 2020 campaign was that Austin Ekeler is going to remain the lead back in this offense. Justin Herbert also proved himself to be a more capable scoring quarterback than that of Philip Rivers, which certainly has the potential to negate any possible drop-off in the volume department when we move from Philip Rivers to Justin Herbert. Any possible drop-off in volume should be negligible. We even saw Austin Ekeler have 2 games in which he had double-digit targets. And when it comes to safety from depth chart concerns, nothing could be more safe than seeing the running back struggle in the weeks that Austin Ekeler was out. No running back in that backfield was able to really cement themselves as the clear lead back while Austin Ekeler was on the sidelines, which ultimately makes Austin Ekeler one of the more safe running backs heading into the 2021 season, leaving the door open for him to potentially have his best season of his career, which is really saying something because he finished in the top 5 for fantasy in the 2019 season. Alright guys, we're moving over to the next position, the quarterback position, and this one should be an absolute no-brainer. We have Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys. Similarly to Austin Ekeler, the production we saw on the field while he was healthy was more than promising, to say the least. Unfortunately for him though, his season was cut short, ultimately only appearing in just 5 games. His injury though is on the more significant side. it definitely does have the potential to hinder him and his production in the 2021 season. But one thing we all know about Dak Prescott is that if he's healthy enough to stay on the field, he always plays up to the strength of the players around him. At this point, the Dallas Cowboys arguably have the most offensive weapons than any other team in the NFL. Looking at the running back position, starting with Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. Then to the wide receiver position, arguably their strongest position, led by Amari Cooper with CeeDee Lamb and also Michael Gallup. But don't forget about their tight ends. Blake Jarwin, his season cut short as well. But we did see the emergence of Dalton Schultz, now allowing them to rotate both two strong tight ends with Dalton Schultz and Blake Jarwin for the 2021 season. Dak Prescott, who heading into the 2020 season was struggling to get the contract he was desiring, did enough in just 5 games to receive the contract he sought after, which should not surprise anyone because of how spectacular he was performing in just those 5 games. In those 5 games, he was able to average over 370 passing yards per game. Yes, you heard that right, 370 plus passing yards per game, while being able to compile nearly 100 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground as well. So far this offseason, we've been trying to hammer in the fact that we are targeting quarterbacks that do have that rushing floor, that rushing upside, a factor that Dak Prescott has brought to the table in previous seasons, but it would be a potential concern for us in 2021 just due to the fact that he's coming off of a major injury. It would be safe for anybody targeting Dak Prescott to assume that the rushing numbers, the rushing projections, they are going to decrease, ultimately forcing Dak Prescott to do most of the work with his arm. But when it comes to that factor, Dak Prescott already proved he's been able to get it done in that area, with him coming into the 2021 season with more receiving options than he's ever had in his entire career. Dak Prescott also consistently proving to us that he can get it done as long as there's strength in the players around him in the receiving department, something that he already proved to be able to do in the 2020 season. For those reasons, the concerns we typically have with quarterbacks coming off of major injuries are going to be less of a risk factor with Dak Prescott than when compared to other quarterbacks in a similar situation. So although he is going to be coming into 2021 with a bit more risk than he would have typically, he still makes a phenomenal pick where he's currently going in drafts and is undoubtedly the strongest bounce back candidate we have at the quarterback position. Alright guys, we're moving over to the wide receiver position, and just to be upfront with you, I will say that this was the most difficult position to find a bounce back in. A lot of the wide receivers that we saw have down seasons, unsuccessful seasons in 2020. It was difficult to make a case for them to see massive improvement for 2021, but the player we chose for you today is none other than Courtland Sutton of the Denver Broncos. Last season, heading into 2020 fantasy drafts, Courtland Sutton was a consensus top 20 pick at the wide receiver position. He was coming off of a season in which he finished as the wide receiver 19 in PPR, wide receiver 17 in standard. Throughout that campaign, he received 124 targets, converted that into 72 receptions for 1,112 receiving yards to go along with 6 touchdowns. Sutton was projected to lead an ascending wide receiver group with the likes of Jerry Jeudy, a rookie that they had drafted very high in the 2020 NFL draft, with other strong wide receivers like Tim Patrick, Deshaun Hamilton, and KJ Hamler, all receivers that did step up at different times of the season in their own right, which just is a testament to how strong and deep this wide receiver core for the Denver Broncos is heading into 2021. Many people may use the depth at the wide receiver position on this roster as a negative factor for Courtland Sutton, but the way that I see it is that while each receiver did step up at different parts of this season, there was not one receiver who really cemented himself as the top receiving option in this offense. For that, there is a gaping hole in this passing offense that needs to be filled and was lacking while Courtland Sutton was off the field, a role that was filled near perfectly by Courtland Sutton in the 2019 season, something I'm also expecting to have a resurgence for the 2021 campaign. Now, don't get me wrong, I am expecting players like Jerry Jeudy to take a step forward as well. My expectation is for Courtland Sutton to step in to fill that wide receiver 1 role, Jerry Jeudy making improvements in the consistency department himself, being able to cement himself as that solid wide receiver 2 for this offense. But don't get me wrong, I'm not here to tell you that there isn't going to be any risk with the pick of Courtland Sutton this season. Courtland Sutton, of course, coming off of an injury is going to bring in additional risk, but that isn't my main concern. My main concern definitely comes down to the strength of the quarterback position and the consistency there. The Denver Broncos are not ruled out from targeting a quarterback quarterback in the upcoming NFL draft, and Drew Lock's production and consistency while on the field can be summarized as shaky at best. Of course, having Melvin Gordon another year in this offense is going to alleviate some of the pressure put on Drew Lock. Also, having Courtland Sutton available for the entire season is going to open up more opportunities in the passing game and open up more opportunities for some of the receivers outside of Courtland Sutton as well. All factors that we can see assisting Drew Lock into getting into a rhythm for the upcoming 2021 season. A testament to Drew Lock, I will say, is that when he's hot, he's hot. When he's cold, he's cold. So if Drew Lock is able to get in some sort of a rhythm, string together a few consistent performances, he's definitely the type of quarterback to be able to take that and run with it and potentially have a better season than meets the eye. Now, if we are talking from a value standpoint, right now Courtland Sutton can be drafted just inside the top 30 at the wide receiver position, which can definitely provide some value to your roster if he's able to perform anything like he was in 2019. Drafting a wide receiver as your wide receiver 3 who's able to consistently put up wide receiver 2 type production, that will give you a statistical advantage heading into your weekly matchup. And with Courtland Sutton having a career high of 6 receiving touchdowns, there is always going to be the possibility of a career season for Courtland Sutton for 2021. Alright guys, we're moving over to the final position. We have the tight end position, and we're sticking with the same team as Courtland Sutton. That's right, Noah Fant of the Denver Broncos. Now guys, I understand Noah Fant didn't have a particularly bad season. He did play in 15 of a possible 16 games as well, but if you were a Noah Fant owner, you do know that he was banged up for most of the season. His usage and involvement in the offense as well was up and down. So when I'm referring to him having a bounce back campaign for this upcoming year, I think we could see the most upside from Noah Fant that we've ever seen before. When comparing his improvement from year 1 to year 2, we did see him improve from 40 receptions in his rookie campaign up to 62 receptions in 2020, also improving from 562 receiving yards to 673, but when it comes to touchdowns, he was consistent, receiving 3 in each campaign. Now, my expectations in the possible upside for Noah Fant this upcoming season, I mean, realistically, the sky's the limit. I do see Noah Fant as potentially a player who could crack into that top 5, and while no, I don't think that the volume is going to warrant him stepping into that elite tier with the likes of Darren Waller, Travis Kelce, and those types of tight ends, I do believe he could be nearing the top of the second tier of tight ends, the receivers that don't have that same target market share in their offense, more touchdown reliant. And although Noah Fant is a player who has only had a career high of 3 touchdowns in a single season, from what we saw from Noah Fant on film, I believe he's certainly the type of player to have 8+ receiving touchdown upside. When watching Noah Fant and what he was able to put on film, he really made a lot of plays that were very Gronk-esque. This is, of course, an exceptional athlete coming in at 6'4", 249 pounds. He runs a 4.5 40, which is in the 99th percentile, but it doesn't just end there. He has a 97th percentile speed score, 97th percentile burst score, 96th percentile agility score, and even a 98th percentile catch radius. That's right, guys. When it comes to measurable athleticism, this is a player who at worst is in the 96th percentile, a player who's also physically most comparable to George Kittle. So the only thing realistically standing in his way is going to be this offense. As you can tell, I am a bit higher on the Denver Broncos offense, seeing improvement from 2020 to 2021. If the offensive pieces are able to stay healthy, Drew Lock returns with Melvin Gordon and Courtland Sutton paving the way at the receiver position, I just don't see a scenario where the Denver Broncos don't see many more scoring opportunities. And when it comes to tight ends, typically a position that's touchdown or bust, Noah Fant has already proven to be able to get it done in the receptions and receiving yard department. The only thing he realistically hasn't had fall into his favor has been the touchdowns, in which he had 3 in his rookie season, 3 once again for 2020. This is the sole area where I am expecting them to have possible massive improvement. When they get near that area of the field, it's hard to find a better target than that of Noah Fant. Like I'd mentioned, he has a massive size advantage, posing a mismatch to any defense. Whenever you combine a massive 6'4", 250 pound frame with a 98th percentile catch radius, any player boasting those measurables in that area of the field is going to be a massive target. Whenever you see a player like that receiving 3 touchdowns on an entire season, that does have to make you raise an eyebrow, something I certainly see going up. And Noah Fant Fant was already 3 touchdowns short of producing a top 5 tight end season himself. Now guys, I do want to let you know that when it comes to our tight end drafting strategy for this upcoming year, I think we are going to lean more on the side of targeting those elite tight ends, or possibly waiting until much later in the draft so we can focus our picks in the mid to early rounds on other positions of need. For that, I can't say that Noah Fant is going to be a massive target where he's currently coming off the board, but when it comes to players who could take a massive step forward from 2020 to 2021, it's undeniable I see Noah Fant at the top of the list at the tight end position. But guys, that's going to do it for this video. We really hope you enjoyed. If you did, how about hitting that like button? If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. We thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.